Oh, good morning from Kansas. It would be, oh, I don't know, December 30th, I suppose, 2019. And it's going to be kind of my last video for the year. It's kind of an update, kind of in between the videos on that 2007 Yukon I'm doing the engine on. By the time you get this, you know, of course, it's already done and gone by the time I get the rest of the videos out. But today, I just thought I'd do you a quick video. Also, I need to explain the next video, so I thought I'd start with this. Still have the Avalanche. This is something that will be gone probably in the next 2 to 3 months, possibly, because my work schedule is going to change dramatically. So, anyway, for those of you who are actually started following the channel because of the Avalanche, you're going to see some more work done on it, and then she's going to go away. 76 Malibu, got the 5.3 swap in it. Made some decisions on this car. I'm actually jumping around. The last I said was it was going to go away. Now I'm not sure that's going to happen. I apologize if you're getting wind noise. It is 45 degrees with a 20-mile-an-hour wind. I think the wind chill's 38 or something. That's miserable. Anyway, stay tuned on this one. I have a plan, and it was kind of the original plan. So I think you may enjoy this one. It's going to stay LS, but it's gonna have some changes done to it. Of course, I still got my HD. I had to park in the street for a lot of reasons. We're not going to get into that right now. But anyway, that's coming up. 65 Mustang sitting outside. Yes, that's bad. We will get into that in a second too. 1997 Chevy extended cab pickup. It's also a project. Go in the garage, guys, because it's too cold and windy out here. It's something I bought for 500 bucks. You'll see some videos on it, most likely. So, but anyway, we will get into that in a minute. And we trip over all the stuff. Shed's still not built. That goes into next year, I suppose. All right. Here's the reason the Mustang's outside. It's coming back in today. Sitting here is the Nissan. If anybody's seen the Nissan videos and was starting to watch it, then all of a sudden they stopped really fast. There is a reason for that. First I wouldn't get many hits on that anyway. I was about halfway through the head series when you know, I realized I just wasn't getting any hit. I know most of the people who are probably watching my videos, I'm not saying all, but probably most of them are all LS based for one reason or another. I built 4.8. I did some on a 5.3 Gen 3, and then I'm building that 5.3 Gen 4. Now, I didn't get into a lot of videos on that because unless it was something specific for the Gen 4 or something that I did not have to deal with on the Gen 3 on that 4.8, because the 4.8 videos were kind of more in depth on a lot of different things. But I, you know, like the 5.3 Gen 3 still in the plastic, you can't see right there. That one, you know, like I showed how to plastic gauge and a few other things, and then this Gen 4 because of the differences in, you know, everything. Well, anyway, if anybody was watching the Nissan videos, I used a Chinese rebuild kit. I'm not completely blaming it on that kit, but it had some things happen. This is the actual motor out of it that I had rebuilt. I kind of said in the video that it may not have come out because, like I said, I know I stopped the series. I may have, well, I said in the video they really needed to be bored. It just wasn't worth doing. I knew nothing about the engine, which is why I pulled it apart, and it was kind of a fail. Not only that, but it was hemorrhaging oil out of it. Matter of fact, it's leaking now, even just sitting here. And what it ended up being was there's a second piece of a gasket that was in the kit, and I didn't know if I needed it or not. And I thought I had it sealed up good, but I didn't. I can't tell if the rear main seal was leaking, but definitely the oil pan was leaking. And I mean, it was hemorrhaging pretty good. But the problem was with it needed bored. With the boring it needed, however you want to say it, it sounded like a little diesel. It sounded like a little Duramax is what it sounded like all the time. And on a cold start, if you try to rev it up a little bit, because it doesn't like to idle cold. I don't know if it's something leaking in the intake side or if there's a sensor bad. I was not getting any codes, which doesn't mean anything on you know, of course, OBD1s, but I actually adjusted the idle to 750, which worked as long as you were in neutral. But as soon as you dropped it in gear, it idled really low. If you had the air conditioner on, you literally had to either hold your foot on the gas when you come up to a stop or it would die. It was a constant issue. I will look into it more. If this engine does that same thing, this is not the engine that came out of it. This is another engine I found on Facebook Marketplace from another 92, supposedly low miles. Of course, you don't have any idea. The engine was sitting on the floor by the time I got there. Never heard it run, but it did come out of a running driving Pathfinder. They were doing a swap. The 5-speed and transfer case were going into an old Willys pickup truck or something. It was an old Jeep style. Actually, what a pickup. It was like their little. I'm not going to call it a Suburban, but it was like their little, Jeeps. It doesn't matter. It was going in that, and they lost interest in the video. The engine had sat on the floor 2 or 3 years, but I talked to the guy who actually drove the vehicle. He drove it 2 or 3 years prior to stripping it, and he claimed it only had 120,000 miles on it. I put a timing belt, idler, water pump, rear main seal, front main seal, of course exhaust manifold gaskets. I just started putting it back together, but I did not pull the intake manifold off of it this time. It is such a hassle to do it, so my decision was I'm just going to try it. I'm getting good at pulling the motor and putting it back in. So it's actually ready to go in. I was busy. I've worked the last 3 nights. I really need to pull it off. Set this engine down, pull this one off the stand, put the flex plate and stuff back in, and it's actually ready to go in. So right, the last thing I was doing was going through checking bolts, make sure nothing had been left off. We're checking any of the hoses, like I did replace the vacuum line. Just checking all these to make sure that none of them got tore up while they had it, sitting on the floor, chained up. The engine looked good. I drained the oil out of it. I didn't see anything that just scared me to death. So it's kind of a booger to pull with the intake manifold on it. And that's how I pulled that. I wanted to see if it was doable before I committed. And it's doable, but it's kind of difficult to do. It didn't come out this angle. I put it at this angle to take the parts off. It didn't make a difference. Okay. So now that we're done with that, and yes, I pulled the front axle out of it again. That's what you kind of have to do to make it easier to work on and easier to pull. And the old motor is actually still, it's a valve cover, that aluminum looking deal back there on the floor. That's actually the motor that came out of this originally. And I did find the professional shop who worked on it had the crank tooth off on the timing. So it is so hard to trust people. They charged them $900 to work on this thing. $900 to change the timing belt. Had broke on it, and they ended up putting a fuel pump in it and a coil because they couldn't figure out why it wouldn't start. And they ended up finally deciding it was a timing belt. So they put a timing belt in it, and it ended up they had it a tooth off. I don't think that was still anything that was wrong with it, because it had really odd readings on the compression check on a couple cylinders, and I bore scoped them and they looked bad. So it had gotten hot first, and the motor was no good. It's just aggravating though, that they would charge somebody that much with putting extra pieces on that didn't need it. And then they did something's not right. You can't fuel it up with gas. When you're filling it up, putting gas in it, you smell raw gas, and if you fill the tank all the way to the top, it runs out all over the ground from on top of the tank. So I'm gonna have to drop the fuel tank anyway. So I'm a little aggravated. You have to do all the extra work, and then those people kind of got took to the cleaners, on it. But anyway, so here we go. This video coming up next is on the 07 Yukon, and it has to do, I think I was putting in the end, I ended up getting the timing set on it, and I was talking about the slack adjuster that's built into the Gen 4s. And man, I could not for the life of me think of timing set or bottom timing gear, top timing gear, cam timing gear, crank timing gear, however you want to say it. I couldn't come up with those words to save my life. So at first I said nothing, and then I called it a sprocket or something. So you can make fun of me if you want. I just completely was locked up trying to figure out what those, I know what they're called, I just couldn't come up with it that day. So anyway, stay tuned guys, and man, I thank you. I have like 265 subscribers right now, which I know is not a lot, but man, that's great that there's some people out there kind of interested in some of the some of the stuff I'm doing. And I subscribe to, I've said this before, I subscribe to a lot of channels. I think I've got 50 channels that I subscribe to, and of course almost all of them are automotive related, one way or another. And some of them I really like, really enjoy when they put a video out. Some of them are for entertainment purposes, because I know that they're not really doing things. And then there's some that are just fascinating to watch, things that I wouldn't think of myself, or didn't think I was able to do, or never thought it was possible. And I watch people do stuff like that, and it's mine is more, I talk just like I'm doing now, more than I get anything done. And I'm going to try to change that next year, guys. I'm going to tell you, it's going to be tough. I work for I work for a company that that has shutdowns every few years, and this particular one is going to be a big one. And they have blocked us out of vacation from February 1 until middle of May. And I don't know how much overtime I'm going to have during that time, but they're 12-hour shifts, and if I have to work 14 days in a row or so, and then get a day or two off, then go back another 14, I'm probably not going to put a lot of videos out. So what I will do is, I have enough kind of left on the Yukon. I'll drag them out some, and then I have some other videos that are a couple of years old possibly. I don't know if you're interested in them, but they're already on the computer, so I could probably put something together there just to kind of keep a couple of videos going. But when I finally get done with the videos, or get done with this turnaround, it's going to be it's going to be move videos, I'm hoping, because I have so much that I need to get done, and some space that I need to make over at the shop. I would go over there today and video the shop, and I will do one for you to kind of walk through all the cars that are over there, because I'm not even sure I've done that, and if I have, I don't remember if I did. But there's 9 cars over there now, and you can see I've got a mess here. So that's the reason I'm showing you this today. That engine's coming off the stand, that one's going in. I'm going to move stuff around. The Mustang's going to come back in before I leave this evening, because tomorrow's my wife's birthday, and well, it's actually the day after, but tomorrow is when we celebrate it. Going out of town all day, and then I have to work again Wednesday, Thursday night, the 1st and the 2nd. So busy. Anyway, you guys, stay tuned. We'll kind of see what we can make.